Hi, my name is DruscillaOzornia, and this is my story about kindness. Do you remember your grandparents? Like most stories, grandparents were the essential role models. What I remember was when my grandmother was ill, and then my grandfather was ill, but I was much too young then. I sought out playful distractions. We all have grandparents, even though we don't know them on a personal level. What would you do if your grandparent was being mistreated? As a first-time care provider, I witnessed cruelty by unprofessionals, negligence, and family reactions. It was my first time being a care provider, and I drove across town to a hospice facility. When I appeared in his room, I was full of nerves, but I found him asleep. So to assure myself, I went to an employee sitting across the dining area. It was late in the evening, and she was getting started for a 12-hour shift. She quickly warned me about Mr. A, about how he used to be so independent and kind, and it was inconvenient when he started to rely on them. She continued her rant about how he was impulsive and physically aggressive, that even at times she'd ignore his requests for assistance. I disregarded the warnings, and the first weeks were pretty simple. I even read books without waking him. But then that's when it started. He became restless and easily aggravated. But I followed protocol and reviewed instructions to signal providers. I noticed how unpleasant he was around them. It was true. He was aggressive. But how? Around me, he was fine. So I decided to handle it the way that I did, my own mannerism. I spoke in a soft voice and stayed away from commanding him. He was satisfied. He'd even asked me to stay and talk to him up until he slept, and called out to see if I was still there throughout the night. Months passed and Mr. A got more ill. Even the medication aide would give him more medication just to keep him still. I stayed long enough to hear his stories and give him peace of mind that somebody was listening. Family requested notes on his actions, and instead of giving them, oh, he got up to use the restroom or he slept for 2 hours, I let them know the memories that he had of them. They replied back to me, mentioning how he asked for me on my days off and how he remembered who I was. This made me feel warm, especially when I first found out that he had dementia. When I first met his family, they hugged me and complimented me on my sweet instincts and how I appeared to his better nature. I even inspired providers to show compassion by how I chose to understand caretaking. Mr. A passed away in front of me. It was my first death, and my heart was cold, but I assured myself I did the best that I could, and this was uncontrollable. They invited me to the service, and hearing his eulogy made me feel honored that I honored such a remarkable man. The family blessed me for a lifetime of happiness because I could make their grandfather smile on his last days. So I gave my light to a facility and a client by taking one small step of kindness. Even to this day, I've met a woman saying that she was glad to have met me. She said, Most people walk around with their heads in the clouds, but you, my darling, you see me.